The process of transformation is foundational to the game's anime, cards, and manga that fuse together to create Yu-Gi-Oh! Whether it's 3 blue eyes into one, or one modern youth into an ancient pharaoh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been transforming since day one. What started as shadow magic and stone slabs would someday morph into card games on motorcycles. But the spirit of the game is the same, and it's the spirit that we're running down in today's Yu-Gi-Oh's top 10 card transformations. Dark Lucius level 4 is an Earth attribute fiend who really gets around, so it's no surprise for him to turn up here to start this list off at number 10. Releasing in the 2006 set Cyberdark Impact, Dark Lucius level 4 has 1000 attack and 300 defense, a stat line that's quite disappointing. Let's get into why. Dark Lucius is actually a snapshot of a monster mid-transformation. This corrupted creature is one of the branching paths open to Warrior Digrapher, a level 4 Earth Warrior from 2003's Legacy of Darkness. At some point in his interdimensional travels, Digrapher stood at the paths of destiny. This is the juncture where timelines divulge, as the many different Dais embark on their journey to many different fates. Some paths see Dai become a Warrior of Light, while others see him fall into darkness. He has at least one fusion ending, merging with Spirit Ryu to become Ryu Senshi. There's some speculation based on the similarity in flavor text that Dai donning metal silver armor is the origin of Dark Blade, another dragon manipulating swordsman. It wouldn't be the only time Warrior Digrapher's equipment set him on a path to destiny. Yes, Dark Lucius level 4 is Warrior Digrapher too. Somewhere along a dark road, Warrior Digrapher faces off with a Guardian Bow, wielder of the cursed, wicked, breaking Flameberg Bow. Victorious, this version of Dai seals his own fate by claiming the weapon of his vanquished enemy. Turns out the entity that fought with Dai, Guardian Bow, was something like a puppet, the husk of a previous host animated by the Flameberg curse. Over time, the energy within the sword would feast on Dai's essence, consuming his soul piece by piece and filling the vacant space with its own madness. Finally, the internal metamorphosis pierced the shell of Dai's skin, and the external changes began. The equipped spell Falling Down shows us how bones protrude and harden into a tough exoskeleton that subsumes the flesh while his eyes burn demon red. The normal trap Sakuretsu armor displays the menacing aura of this new monster. And now we have to talk about DD Warrior Lady. This dimension-hopping warrior got her start in the armies of Freed the Matchless General, but would eventually throw her lot in with the elite group of other skill travelers, including DD Warrior, DD Assailant, and DDM Different Dimension Master. During her adventures across timelines, DD Warrior Lady would encounter multiple iterations of Warrior Digrapher. An early version of the man who might become Dark Lucius even developed an unrequited crush on her, as seen in Die Dance and DD Post. But Dark Lucius level 4 just attacked her. The normal trap, Different Dimension Ground, shows her repelling the fiend through a portal. But this is not the end of Dark Lucius. As the spirit of wicked breaking Flameberg Bow devours more of his mind, the physical mutations accelerate. Dark Lucius level 4 evolves into Dark Lucius level 6, and finally into Dark Lucius level 8. If DD Warrior Lady ever runs across her old adversary, he'll be much stronger than she left him. And while this open ending suggests we might encounter further iterations of Dark Lucius someday, those hypothetical cards will have to be pretty good to make up for how unexciting the Dark Lucius line currently is. Dark Lucius level 4 negates the effects of monsters that it destroys by battle, but with 1000 attack, it's realistically not going to be destroying many monsters. This is double bad news because in order to activate its standby phase level up effect to shuffle itself into the deck while bringing a Dark Lucius level 6, the level 4 version must have destroyed a monster during your last turn. There's not really much to say about the actual card. It's slow, weak, and bad. And Dark Lucius level 6 is the same way. A level 6 Earth Fiend, Dark Lucius level 6 only has 1700 attack. Embarrassing totals for a high level monster. It can negate the effects of monsters destroyed by battle, but only if it was special summoned by the effect of Dark Lucius level 4. And its level conditions are even more strict than its previous form. During the standby phase of your next turn after negating a monster effect using its own level locked effect, Dark Lucius level 6 can self-shuffle to summon Dark Lucius level 8 from deck. While 1700 attack is more workable than 1000, it's important to note that just destroying a monster isn't enough. Dark Lucius level 6 has to destroy a monster and negate an effect. The prize for all of this is Dark Lucius level 8, another Earth Fiend with 2800 attack and 900 defense. It negates and banishes any monster it destroys, but only if it was summoned by the effect of Dark Lucius level 6. Otherwise, it's just a big non-effect monster that doesn't benefit from normal support. Ultimately, the actual badness of the Dark Lucius card is what lands Dark Lucius level 4 at the bottom of this list. Artwork features and cool lore can't totally make up for being terminally bad on the field. Still, this transformation of Warrior Digrapher is interesting for its deviation from the other die lines, which tend to preserve his warrior typing. Time is ticking, and we should move along to number 9. Clockwork Night is a continuous spell from the 2022 set Battle of Legend Crystal Revenge. When Clockwork Night is on the field, machine-type monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense, while machines controlled by your opponent lose the same amount. When Clockwork Night is in the grave, you can banish it and discard a card to add an Earth machine from your deck to your hand. But none of these effects are why Clockwork Night earns a spot on this list. This part is. Clockwork Night transforms all face-up monsters into machine type, but it's hardly the only card to do something like this. Buster Dragon turns monsters into dragons, and DNA Surgery changes everything to whatever typing you want. So why Clockwork Night? For its anime feature, episode 106 of the Duel Monsters anime sees the Yugi gang trapped in a virtual world governed by the disembodied consciousness of Noah Kaiba and populated with the lost minds of the Big Five. Nesbit, the former overseer of Kaiba Corp's War Crimes Division, engages in a 3-on-1 duel against a team of Duke Devlin, Tristan Taylor, and Serenity Wheeler. Choosing Robotic Knight as his deckmaster and avatar, he spends much of the duel explaining his misanthropic idea of contempt for humans and worship of machines. As a demonstration of his ideal world, Nesbit activates Clockwork Night, transforming all of his opponent's monsters into machines. Duke's Yaranzo, Dark Assailant, and the 13th Grave, Serenity's Lady Panther, the Forgiving Maiden, and Tristan's Command Angel are reformed into metal puppets with reduced stats, all in service of Nesbit's Machine King, who gains 100 attack for every machine on the field. And after Nesbit first used Clockwork Night on May 14th of 2002, 2 decades would pass before the card finally got a physical OCG printing in June of 2022. But after waiting so long, the good times wouldn't stop for this old clock. In October of 2024, the OCG got Clockwork Night, a Link 1 machine that can search a copy of Clockwork Night, the continuous spell, by sending another continuous spell you control to the grave. But although Clockwork Knight's mass transformation is admittedly really cool, this list is going to mostly focus on specific transformations and shapeshifters. On February 1st of 2018, the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG changed forever. The new set, Extreme Force, introduced a new archetype, the Mekk-Knights, a group of high-level psychics in the main deck that were the final nail in the coffin for the game's infamous T-set pass. Because the Mekk-Knights could special summon themselves to any column already holding at least 2 cards. You had to space out your monsters and support plays to avoid giving your opponent free Mekk-Knight summons. There were 7 in total, and took inspiration for their colors from the rainbow. Mekk-Knight's Red Moon, Orange Sunset, Yellow Star, Green Horizon, Blue Sky, Indigo Eclipse, and Purple Nightfall. Powerful on their own, the Mekk-Knights can also merge into their ultimate rainbow form, a Link 3 Light Cyrus monster with 3000 attack, Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme. This combined Mekk-Knight monster is also from Extreme Force, and is this list's number 8 pick. On the field, Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme continues its archetype's column mechanics. While it is the only card in its column, it can bypass your opponent's monsters to attack directly. And while Spectrum Supreme is in the extra monster zone and points to no other monsters, it cannot be targeted by card effects and is immune to effect destruction. This conditional protection makes its 3 downward pointing arrows both a blessing and a curse, since if you want to access Spectrum Supreme's inherent defenses, you must forego use of 3 main monster zones to avoid its typically helpful down-pointing arrows. In addition to these passive effects, Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme also has an ignition effect that sends a card you control in its same column to the grave to summon a defensive position Mekk-Knight from your deck. As a Link 3 monster with specific material requirements, Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme might not seem like the easiest creature to bring out, but those requirements are the Mekk-Knights, who all have the potential to special summon themselves and synergies with each other. Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme is uniquely interesting as a transformation for the way its archetype altered the way players approach the game, and also for its place in the lore of the World Legacy. But I'm saving that part for a little later down the list, so stay tuned. Coming in at number 7 is the normal spell, the Claw of Hermos. First releasing as a secret rare with Dragon of Legends 2, this spell is the adaptation of one of the Duel Monsters anime legendary dragons in opposition to the Seal of Orichalcos. Together with the legendary knight Timaeus and legendary knight Critias, legendary knight Hermos of Atlantis sought to save their world from the alien influence of the Seal of Orichalcos and the great Leviathan it heralded. While they were ultimately successful, they got transformed into dragons and sealed in crystal ice, which is how we get their respective spells, the Eye of Timaeus, the Fang of Critias, and the Claw of Hermos. These cards are non-traditional fusion spells and can be used to access specific monsters from the extra deck. The Eye of Timaeus, which belonged to Yugi, can bring out any Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl fusion monster by attributing the listed monster. Timaeus the Dragon can be seen in the artwork of Amulet Dragon, Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, and Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight, but you don't have to summon these monsters. Red Eye's Dark Dragoon works perfectly fine. The Fang of Critias was a Kaiba card and can send specific traps from hand or field to the grave to summon their paired monster, including Doom Virus Dragon for Crush Card Virus, Destruction Dragon for Ring of Destruction, Mirror Force Dragon for Mirror Force, and Tyrant Burst Dragon for Tyrant Wing. These are all fine transformations, but the Claw of Hermos gets extra points for being extra weird. It chose Joey Wheeler as its wielder, and supported his gutsy attack-centered plays by transforming monsters into fusion monsters that become equip cards. At the time this script was written, the Claw of Hermos has 4 potential monsters, and they are a Goddess Bow, Rocket Hermos Cannon, Time Magic Hammer, and Red Eye's Black Dragon Sword. While these cards work with typings rather than specific names, you can still see a shadow of each fusion's tribute with the anime. Rocket Hermos Cannon sends any warrior monster, but has the same level and stats as Rocket Warrior, the tribute Joey used in episode 171, Duel Against Valon. Likewise, in episode 154, Joey used the Claw of Hermos on his Time Wizard to bring out Time Magic Hammer, but any spellcaster will do. By sending any dragon, the Claw of Hermos can summon Red Eye's Black Dragon Sword, like Joey did by offering Red Eye's Black Dragon in his episode 162 Duel Against Rex Raptor, and again in his episode 173 Duel Against My Valentine. Like Rocket Hermos Cannon, Goddess Bow can be summoned by using the Claw of Hermos to send any warrior monster, but was used by Yamayugi in the anime rather than Joey. During the duel between Raphael and the Pharaoh in episode 176, Yamayugi used Joey's the Claw of Hermos to tribute Queen's Knight to equip Goddess Bow to Guardian Yados. Somewhat predictably for such a weird card, the Claw of Hermos has seen exactly no competitive play. But that might change someday. All it would take is one good target, and the third legendary dragon could roar back into relevance in a big way. Until then, it can relax in its crystallized ice, known that its bizarre inanimate object transformations got it a spot on this list. From the depths of the ocean and shadowy corners of the great beyond comes Evigishki Levianima, the number 6 card in this list. A level 8 water aqua monster with 2700 attack and 1500 defense, Evigishki Levianima can be summoned with any Gishki ritual spell, and first released into the TCG in 2012. Several months later, 2013's Hidden Arsenal 7 and Night of Stars would give Evigishki Levianima a wider introduction to the game. While it wouldn't see a great deal of competitive experimentation, Evigishki Levianima's effect to let you draw a card on its attack declaration isn't bad, and includes an added bonus of getting to view a random card in your opponent's hand if the drawn card is a Gishki monster. Decent, but hardly game-winning. This effect is not why I'm talking about Evigishki Levianima. So let's get into the lore. The timeline of the Dual Terminal verse is marked by the emergence of multiple world-ending threats. These include the extraterrestrial worms, the demonic fabled, several icy dragons, and also the dark arts of the Gishki cult. See, back when the fabled were poised to take over the world, steel reeling from the assault of alien worms, the Ice Barrier tribe decided to release their monstrous dragons entombed in the ice. This was a desperate call and not unanimous within the tribe. The families of Judge of the Ice Barrier, Natalia, and Revealer of the Ice Barrier, Noelia, were opposed to the idea, and so their young scions searched for a different path. Taking a fight fire with fire approach to the fabled dilemma, they used Mirror of the Ice Barrier to rouse an ancient line of slumbering demons known as the Steel Swarm. But the ritual failed and everything turned out quite badly for them and the entire world. Overwhelmed by Steel Swarm echoes, Judge Natalia died and Revealer Noelia had her thoughts contaminated by the demons whose names they called. But despite their failure, the Fable invasion would be quelled by the Ice Barrier dragons, who were then resealed by Sacred Spirit of the Ice Barrier. Traumatized and physically infected, the Revealer of the Ice Spear would adopt a bunch of children orphaned by the conflict and raise them in a new cult she founded upon the summoning techniques that got her bestie killed. She would teach her charges the magical arts of mutating one's body to do battle, resulting in the Evigishki line. Noelia would also conduct dark experiments on the hopes of reviving her lost friend, but like the original ritual that claimed Natalia's life, these efforts too would end badly. After Gishki Amelia, Noelia's own daughter, perished in another act of magic gone wrong, the last thread in Noelia's sanity snapped. She anchored the departed soul of Amelia to the material plane and gave in to the corruption of the Steel Swarm. She then led her remaining children and followers to invade the Mist Valley. Ostensibly conducting this attack to accumulate resources, the Steel Swarm corruption had a strong grip on Noelia's subconscious, and planted a secret goal to break the binding seal of the Vylon. This resulted in the full awakening of the Steel Swarm and the return of the Vylons from space. Then more stuff happened, but basically Vylon Omega vaporized the resurgent Steel Swarm, and everything was good for a second, until the Steel Swarm infection caught within the Vylon population, causing the Machine Angels to go on a rampage. The corrupted Vylon merged together to form Vylon de Sigma, an amalgamation entity capable of absorbing the essences of its enemies. Before it finally fell, de Sigma assimilated Levavel Dragun, Levavel Ignis, Daigastu Falcos, and even both parts of the deceased Gishki Emilia, whose soul had been mutated into Evigishki Marrowgeist and body mutated into Evigishki Guskraken. Eventually, Gem-Knight Pearl defeated Vylon de Sigma with Onigai combo, and Steel Swarm Virus fled back into the wounded Gishki Noelia. Except it's not really the Steel Swarm virus. Around this point, we learned the Steel Swarm were actually just hosts for the Evil Swarm virus, which began to spread amid Gishki Noelia's revived war campaign. Tired of the endless cycle of death and loss, Gishki Avance deviated from his leader's goals by following in her footsteps. Above all else, he wanted to resurrect Gishki Emilia, who he feared had been completely annihilated in the fall of the Violent de Sigma. Developing the new Gishki Photo Mirror ritual technique, everything went wrong again, resulting in Evigishki Levianima, a warped dragon creature housing the imperfectly merged souls of Gishki Avance and Emilia. Directly intervening after the failure of the mechanical Vylon, Constellar Castor freed Gishki Noelia from the will of the Evil Swarm, but himself fell to corruption in the process. Remorseful for her many past mistakes, Gishki Noelia performed a final ritual, synthesizing the Aqua Mirror cycle to separate Emilia and Avance from Evigishki Levianima, at the cost of her own life. The raging Gishki Zelgigas rushed to stop her, but Noelia was able to repel the beast using the last of her power, as seen in Spell Wall. The saga of the Constellar and Evil Swarm in all Dual Terminal goes on from here, but I've covered everything I need for this video. One of the world's most emotional plotlines culminates in the transformation and spread of Evigishki Levianima, earning its number 6 spot on this list. And gooping it up at number 5 is Egyptian God Slime, a level 10 Water Aqua fusion monster with 3000 attack and defense from the 2020 set Legendary Duelist Rage of Ra. It might sport an impressive 3000 attack, but Egyptian God Slime's key selling point in the field is defensive. It can't be destroyed by battle, and taunts your opponent into attacking it over your other monsters at the same time. On top of this, Egyptian God Slime also shields your other monsters from targeting by card effect, which is another nice protective perk. While Egyptian God Slime itself isn't immune to effect targeting, it is very easy to bring out onto the field. Its fusion material requirements are 1 Aqua monster and 1 level 10 Water monster. But you can also special summon Egyptian God Slime from the extra deck by distributing a level 10 Aqua monster with 0 attack. At first glance, this might not seem like the easiest thing to do, but there are 2 targets that are great at changing shape into the big goop god. Metal Reflex Slime is a continuous trap from way back in 2008's Phantom Darkness, which can special summon itself as a level 10 Aqua Trap monster with 0 attack and 3000 defense, making it both a decent instant defensive wall and an easy lead into Egyptian God Slime. Legendary Duelist Rage of Ra also introduced Reactor Slime, a level 4 Water Aqua monster that contributes itself during the battle phase to set a Metal Reflex Slime from the deck that can be activated in the same turn. Guardian Slime is another card from Rage of Ra, and this one is a level 10 Aqua monster with no attack and a hand trap effect, which special summon itself to the field after you take battle or effect damage. Both Guardian Slime and Metal Reflex Slime can instantly transform into Egyptian God Slime, and Egyptian God Slime isn't just good on the field, it's good coming off of it too, since this big Aqua Fusion can count as 1 to 3 tributes when tribute summoning. Not only does Metal Reflex Slime equal Egyptian God Slime, but 1 Egyptian God Slime, and therefore just the trap, is all you need to bring out an actual Egyptian god. Warming up to take number 4 is Orcust Knightmare, a level 7 Dark Machine with 100 attack and 2000 defense from 2019 Savage Strike set. This card cannot be destroyed by battle with a Link monster, and at the cost of locking your special summons into dark for the rest of the turn, you can banish itself from the grave to Foolish Burial a different Dark Machine from your deck, increasing the attack of a face-up monster by 100 times the dump monster's level until the end of the turn. While this attack boost is pretty inconsequential, its ability to dark a dump machine is really good. Orcust monsters love to banish themselves from the grave to activate their powerful effects, and Orcust Knightmare saw decent amounts of competitive play to complement its utility in Orcust strategies. But like with Evigishki Levianima, we're talking about Orcust Knightmare for the lore. Remember earlier when we were talking about Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme? Gaze upon their penultimate evolution and despair. But wait, how did we get here? Let's run it back. In a tragic stroke, the unified might of Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme was broken by Lee the World Chalice Fairy. Deceived into thinking they were enemies, the chosen warriors of the World Chalice and the Mekk-Knights clashed and forgot about a little fairy that was about to pull some crazy stunts. Lee first betrayed Ib, the World Chalice priestess, taking over her body. The possessed nightmare corruptor Ibli then interrupted the ongoing fight and shattered Mekk-Knight Spectrum Supreme, stealing most of the Mekk-Knight's psychic cores. But before she could be subsumed, Mekk-Knight Blue Sky, the psychic soldier, passed its essence to Aram, who became, check this out, the new Mekk-Knight Avram. The other 6 Mekk-Knight cores were remolded and reshaped by Nightmare Corruptor Ibli, who forced her former allies to engage in battle with these new nightmare creatures. In time, the dust would settle and the fight would fizzle. The world would be saved, but Ib, who was crowned by the World Chalice, was lost, seemingly forever. Following the conflict, Aram and Ningirsu would venture separately. The former World Chalice Blade Master determined to safeguard the world against future threats, and former World Chalice warrior willing to give up everything to revive his fallen sister. Taking the crackled Mekk-Knight cores, Ningirsu reverse engineered their ancient technology. He unraveled the secrets of the world and built great machines to aid him in his quest to fetch the soul of his sister back from beyond, becoming Longirsu the Orcust orchestrator in the process. He built a mechanical doll intended to house Ib's displaced soul. But Lee, the former World Chalice fairy that doomed the world, was still a part of the departed Ib, and at the crucial juncture when her soul was intended to flow into the doll, Lee took control instead. This is what brings us to Orcust Knightmare, a horrific freeze frame of the moment Longirsu realizes his experiments, research, and love has failed him, and everyone else. Powered by the repurposed Mekk-Knight technology, and sparked by life with souls of not just Ib but Lee, and also the secretly sentient Galatea, the Orcust Knightmare walked and smiled. It is this snapshot that takes this list's spot, when 3 of the World Legacy's most important characters were united into one mechanical body built from dead Mekk-Knights and nightmares. And keeping things clean at number 3 is Chamber Dragonmaid, a level 4 Dark Dragon with 500 attack, 1800 defense, and also her draconic form, Dragonic Stern, a level 9 Dark Dragon with 2800 attack and 1800 defense. Chamber Dragonmaid was first released in Secret and Starlight Rare as part of the 2020 set Eternity Code, but Stern wouldn't arrive until sometime later, finally printed in the OCG in December of 2024. The Dragonmaid archetype is all about transformation, and its monsters are divided into 2 categories, the dragons themselves and their human guise. The low-level humans have effects that activate on summon, like Nurse Dragonmaid who revives a Dragonmaid from the grave, and Kitchen Dragonmaid who adds a Dragonmaid monster from deck and then discards a Dragonmaid from hand. Chamber Dragonmaid on summon effect lets you add a Dragonmaid spell or trap from your deck to your hand, giving the strategy a ton of flexibility. This flexibility extends to the start of the battle phase, which is when the human Dragonmaid shared effects triggers. They are able to bounce themselves back to the hand to summon their dragon forms from the hand or graveyard. At the start of the battle phase, your Kitchen Dragonmaid can tag into Dragonmaid Tikek, and at the end of the battle phase, bounce Tikek to resummon Kitchen Dragonmaid. But, though versatile, these cards do come with constraints. Kitchen Dragonmaid and Parlor Dragonmaid can only tag into level 8 Dragonmaids Lorpar and Tikek. Nurse Dragonmaid and Lodge Dragonmaid are similarly able to tag into and out of the level 7 Dragonmaids, Nadarla and Ernest. Chamber Dragonmaid dodges these restrictions by tagging into any level 7 and up Dragonmaid from the grave or hand, meaning she's able to tag not only into Dragons Tikek, Nardole, Ernest, and Lorpar, but also the fusions House Dragonmaid and Dragonmaid Shio, if they were first brought out of the extra deck correctly, of course. Chamber Dragonmaid is a bridge between your level 7 and 8 big Dragonmaids, and therefore also a bridge into your level 2 and 3 smaller ones. Her downside, of course, is at the end of the battle phase, none of those cards can tag back into Chamber Dragonmaid. All of this changes with Dragonmaid Stern, who can tag into a level 4 human Dragonmaid from your hand as you move into the main phase 2. Additionally, Dragonmaid Stern has a helpful hand effect, where you can discard her to special summon a different Dragonmaid from your graveyard or banishment, and while she's on the field, she protects all your Dragon Fusion monsters from destruction by an opponent's card effect. The arrival of Chamber Dragonmaid's long-awaited transformation and the utility of both her human and dragon form make her an easy pick for number 3. We found this list's number 2 pick roaring across the cosmos and leaving only destruction in its wake. Meet Vicious Astraloud, a level 8 Dark Fairy with 3000 attack and defense from 2023 Cyberstorm Access set. On field, Vicious Astraloud is a predictably vicious monster, and it's not hard to break this guy out of the extra deck either, requiring only Visa Starfrost and any monster with 1500 attack and 2100 defense. You don't even need Polymerization or other more specific fusion spells. Instead, you can contact fuse into Vicious Astraloud by banishing its materials from your hand or graveyard. On special summon, Vicious Astraloud can target another monster in the field and destroy it, gaining attack points equal to half that card's highest stat. This means that your Vicious Astraloud is usually going to hit the field with an attack north of 4000, making it a very fast and strong mid to late game threat. And if all that attack isn't enough, Vicious Astraloud brings an immunity to destruction by battle, providing some stall potential for niche situations. While unlikely to swing a game on its own, Vicious Astraloud's flexibility led to a decent amount of experimentation within Mannadium strategies. But competitive viability isn't why Vicious Astraloud is on this list. Definitely isn't why it's so high up either. We've already spent a decent amount of this video hanging out in the world of Duel Terminal, so it's about time we dive headfirst into another one of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sprawling card verses. Let's talk about the story of Visas Starfrost and Vicious Astraloud's transformative place within it. In the deep darkness of space, lights that are neither beginning nor end manifest and calcify into planets, creating the clear new world. Eventually, a blue light gravitates towards a green one, and we get our first Visas encounter. On the primitive planet Reichphobia, Scareclaw Reikark rules over a population of menacing beasts using his manipulation of fear. One day, a traveler arrives. The man radiates strange energy and appears a twin to Reichard, who monsters out at the sight of a new rival, turning into Scareclaw Tryhard. The two battle and the traveler wins, absorbing Scareclaw Reichard into a mysterious right arm made of darkness and ice. With the emotion of fear absorbed, Visas Starfrost is able to remember his name and his purpose. Once he had 4 hearts, each representing one of his emotions, but he was shattered. There are other planets with other Visas avatars throughout the cosmos, and he must hunt them down and assimilate them. Scareclaw Reichard, not entirely consumed, gets a chibi makeover and takes on an advisory Jiminy Cricket-like role as Scareclaw Lightheart. And with his new friend's help, Visas Starfrost charts a course for the primeval planet Pellerino, where he finds a society of depressed mermaids exploited by Tearlament Rhinoheart's dominion over sorrow. During the clash, Visas is almost overwhelmed by the intensity of the transformed Tearlament's Kaleidoheart, but is able to leverage Scareclaw Lightheart's gift of fear manipulation to shock the entranced Tearlament mermaids out of his other self's control. Visas Starfrost totally wins, but a red flash in the sky heralds the arrival of the Kashtira. The bizarre mechanical being Kashtira Unicorn invades the scene and abducts both the vanquished Tearlament Rhinoheart and the Mermaid Queen Tearlament's Kitkalos. Tracking Kashtira Unicorn back to primeval planet Reichphobia, Visas and Lightheart discover a warped and colonized landscape, the pressured planet Raysoth. Both the Scareclaw beasts and the kidnapped Kitkalos have been subsumed into mechanical soldiers of the Kashtira. Led by Kashtira Riseheart, another incarnation of Visas Starfrost. Riseheart is the embodiment of Visas' anger, and he absorbs Tearlament Rhinoheart to become Kashtira Riseheart, a fearsome entity of sadness and rage. Though Visas contests this new rival's claim to both the planet and his own emotions, the fight is harder than any Visas has experienced before, and Kashtira Riseheart manages to steal and eat Scareclaw Lightheart. Visas, the Hollow Shell, acts on Lightheart's parting advice, unleashing the power of the stars themselves, and wins. Repossessed of his fears, sorrow, and wrath, Visas Starfrost is overcome by his emotions. It's all too much, and he mutates wildly into the cosmic monstrosity known as Vicious Astraloud. Uncontent with merely gouging the realms of physical space, Vicious Astraloud turns its attention inward to where the final heart of Visas Starfrost resides in the shell's subconscious. Entering the peaceful planet Calarium, where Mannadium Roomheart watches over the tree that processes sadness, anger, and rage into joy, Vicious Astraloud seeks to unite the Visas entity into a storm of negative emotion. Ultimately, Mannadium Roomheart's evolution into Mannadium Primeheart gives him the power to stop the advance of Vicious Astraloud, reunifying Visas Starfrost without yielding to destruction, but at the cost of damage inflicted upon Visas Starfrost's soul. There's more to the Visas story, but that covers the background of Vicious Astraloud. Everybody loves a good monster, and Vicious is a great one, well deserving of the spot number 2. Dropping out of the sky to land in the number 1 spot is Yu-Gi-Oh's preeminent transformative Dragon Boy, Fallen of Albaz. This level 4 Dark Dragon with 1800 attack and 0 defense first released in the 2020 set Rise of the Duelists, and has seen quite a few reprints since on account of its popularity, including some 25th anniversary stuff, the 2022 structure deck Albaz Strike, and also in OTS Tournament Pack 19 as an ultimate rare. Fallen of Albaz saw significant competitive play immediately upon release, and it's not hard to see why. When he's summoned at any point outside of the damage step, Fallen of Albaz can discard a card to immediately fusion summon a monster using cards from both sides of the field. You have to use Fallen of Albaz as a material, and you actually can't use other cards you control, But that's just fine because removing your opponent's monsters as materials for an extra deck summon is one of the game's safest and highest impact methods of removal. Just look at Super Polymerization. Fallen of Albaz also comes with a complement of connected fusions that require Fallen of Albaz, plus a generic material to help you leverage your opponent's field. Titanic-clad the Ash Dragon is a fusion of Fallen of Albaz, and any monster with 2500 or more attack. Brigand the Glory Dragon needs Fallen of Albaz and any monsters level 8 and higher. Sprind the Iron Dash Dragon is a blend of Fallen of Albaz and any effect monster that was summoned this turn. And Albion the Branded Dragon just needs Albaz plus a light attribute. Albion the Sanctifier Dragon gets a little more specific with needing a light spellcaster, but Rinbrum the Striking Dragon just needs any Beast, Wing Beast, or Beast Warrior. Lubellion the Searing Dragon wants a Dark attribute, and Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon wants Fallen of Albaz paired with a Fusion, Synchro Xyz, or Link monster. Alba Lenitus the Abyss Dragon needs Fallen of Albaz and any number of dragon monsters, and that covers the Albaz specific fusions. But that's by no means the end of Fallen of Albaz's fusion potential. This guy is the Eevee of Yu-Gi-Oh! Your opponent controls a Pendulum monster? Go Albaz into Starving Venomy Dragon. A machine? Summon Fallen of Albaz and fuse into Panzer Dragon. A spellcaster that isn't a light? Meaning you can't fuse into Albion the Sanctifier Dragon? No problem, Fallen of Albaz plus any spellcaster equals Mysterion the Dragon Crown. Playing against zombies under Zombie World? Fallen of Albaz is a wild card that can merge with anything for a Draco Necro Nether Soul Dragon. For his variety and flexibility in addition to his competitive utility, Fallen of Albaz takes the #1 spot on this list. Alright, and that's the list. But there are so many more epic Yu-Gi-Oh! Transformations. So if I missed your favorite, or if you have more ideas for future videos just like this one, please let us know down in the comments below.